I trusted my brother with our business, but when I returned, I was locked out. The last time I saw the inside of our family shop, I was wheeled out on a stretcher. My lower back had finally given out after 2 decades of crawling under lifted engines, hauling transmissions by hand, and pretending like pain was just part of the job. I ran that auto shop with my brother since we inherited it from our dad. I was the face customers trusted, and he handled the phones and scheduling. We were partners. Not just on paper. In blood. In sweat. In every dented hood and oil-stained receipt. When the surgeon told me I'd be out for at least 8 weeks, my brother put a hand on my shoulder and said, "I got this. Just focus on healing." I remember feeling guilty. Like I was letting him down. Like leaving the shop, even for a few months, was abandonment. But he reassured me. Said he'd call every day. Said the place would be waiting when I came back. He lied. The first sign something was off came 3 weeks after surgery. I called to check in, and no one picked up. No voicemail. Just a deadline. I tried my brother's cell. Straight to voicemail. I brushed it off. Maybe they were swamped. Maybe the phones were down. But it kept happening. Days passed without a word. When I finally got through to the front desk girl, she acted weird. Said my brother was in a meeting and couldn't talk. That wasn't like him. We didn't have meetings. We had lunch breaks and parts deliveries and days where we fixed cars until our hands bled. I drove to the shop 2 days later, against doctor's orders. My back still burned when I sat too long, but I needed to see it with my own eyes. When I pulled into the lot, the first thing I noticed was the new sign. Our name was still on it. D&T Motors. But the logo had changed. Flashier. Like something out of a dealership. Then the Real hit came. I walked up to the front door and reached for my keys. The lock had been changed. I knocked. The front desk girl, the same one who dodged my call, opened it just a crack. She looked confused. Or maybe guilty. "I'm here to see my brother," I said. "I'm back." She hesitated. "He's not in right now." I laughed, thinking it was a joke. "That's all right. I know where the spare key is." She stepped out, blocking the doorway. "I don't think you're allowed in anymore." My stomach dropped. I pushed past her, ignoring the pain in my spine. The waiting room looked different. New paint, new chairs, a fresh coat of money, poured on without my say. The office door was locked. My office, the one I sat in for 10 years. I knocked hard, once, twice. No answer. That's when I saw the sign on the door. Manager, D. Taylor. Not co-owner. Just him. I left without another word. My hands were shaking too much to drive. I sat in my truck for nearly an hour, replaying everything in my head. The silence. The missed calls. The new logo. My name was gone. Not just from the door, but from the entire operation. I wanted to believe it was a mistake. That he'd explain it all. But I knew my brother. He wasn't stupid. He didn't forget to call me. He didn't accidentally remove my access or change the locks. This was planned. And he thought I was too weak to stop him. The next morning, I showed up at the county clerk's office. I hadn't told anyone I was going. I needed to see it for myself, in writing. I gave them the business name, my ID, and waited in that stale, silent room while the clerk clicked through her terminal. She barely glanced at me when she handed over the papers. Everything I feared was right there in black and white. 2 weeks after my surgery, a document had been filed to amend the business structure. It removed me as co-owner and designated my brother, Derek, as sole managing partner. The form had a signature. My name. In my handwriting. But I didn't sign it. I just stared at the page. Not angry. Not yet. Mostly numb. I couldn't believe he had actually done it. He didn't just take over while I was gone. He buried me. Quietly. Like I was never part of it. Like I hadn't built the shop from the ground up after Dad passed. That night, I sat on the floor of my apartment with a heating pad on my back and every financial document I had spread around me. Tax returns. Bank statements. Copies of our original ownership agreement. I read them all like my life depended on it. Turns out, Derek had been preparing for this. The shop's expenses were being filtered through a new account I wasn't connected to. Payroll looked inflated, with new names I didn't recognize. He had filed a name variation request too. Same shop, slightly altered brand. Just enough to slip past most people. Not enough to trigger a full audit unless someone knew where to look. So I started collecting. Every phone record. Every missed call. Every email I sent that bounced. I even reached out to a couple of vendors we used to work with. One of them let it slip that Derek told them I stepped down permanently due to health reasons. Another asked how my retirement was going. Retirement. That word made me want to smash something. I didn't confront him. Not yet. I knew better than to walk in there swinging. He had home court advantage. Staff who were loyal to him. Customers who hadn't seen my face in months. And now, legally speaking, he had the upper hand. I needed to come at this clean. So I reached out to an attorney. Not the family kind. A corporate specialist. I told her everything. She looked through the papers I brought and pointed to the signature line. That's forgery, she said. I asked what my options were. She didn't sugarcoat it. It would be a fight. Long, expensive, and ugly. But winnable. Especially if I had evidence. So I kept going. The next week, I managed to get an old friend to log into our old invoice system. Somehow my admin password still worked. Inside, I found internal memos between Derek and a new accountant. One email said, "Once he's fully off the books, we'll streamline the brand and move forward." Fully off the books. I printed that email 5 times and highlighted it. There were moments I wanted to just walk away. Let him have it. Start over somewhere else. Open a new shop. Do things differently. But then I'd remember all the years I spent holding that business together. The nights I slept in the back office. The clients who came to us because we were honest, because we were family. He didn't just take money. He took my name, my work, my pride. I wasn't going to let him keep it. My lawyer filed a motion the next day. It included copies of the altered documents, proof of my hospital stay during the alleged signature date, and the email where Derek called me a phase to clean off the books. She didn't overstate it. She let the documents speak. That was the power of truth. It didn't need drama. Just clarity. Derek didn't respond for 2 days. Then I got a text. One line. "You could have called me." I stared at it for a while. Not because I didn't know what to say, but because of what he didn't say. No apology. No denial. Just a weak attempt to flip the blame. He wanted me to feel like I was overreacting. Like I hadn't watched him erase me from my own business while I was laid up recovering from surgery. I didn't reply. Instead, I waited for the court to serve him. The shop was shut down temporarily once the injunction was approved. He posted on the business page saying it was due to renovations. People believed him, but I knew it was because the court froze the account pending investigation. He couldn't touch the finances, the payroll, or the name. He was stuck. Meanwhile, I went back to work. Not at the shop. At building the case. I pulled security footage that still existed from the month after I left. In one clip, Derek stood in the office talking to the front desk girl, telling her not to mention my name to clients. He said it would confuse the brand. I sent that to the lawyer. Another win came when a customer I'd known for years called me out of the blue. He said Derek tried to bill him double for a job we used to do for a flat fee. The customer threatened to walk. Derek said prices had changed since ownership shifted. That call was recorded too. It all stacked up. Not just the fraud. The intent. The court date came faster than I expected. I walked into that room with my back still tight, my hands still calloused, and my name still legally missing from the business. Derek sat across from me in a fitted suit he didn't earn, looking like someone who thought charm could still carry him through. But charm doesn't hold up against paper trails. When the judge asked him to explain the signature, he blamed the accountant. Said it was a clerical error. Then he blamed me. Said I verbally told him to take over. Said I was tired, ready to move on. My lawyer asked for proof. He had none. I watched his confidence drain out of him like water from a cracked radiator. The judge ruled in my favor. Said the removal of my name was unlawful and that the forged documents held no legal standing. Ownership reverted back to the original agreement. 50-50. But I wasn't done. We filed a civil claim next. Damages, profits during the takeover period, legal costs, and the emotional toll of being locked out of my own family's legacy. That case would take longer. But I didn't care. Because the next day, I went back to the shop. I didn't barge in. I walked in with a key. The same one I had since I was 17. The front desk girl looked up and froze. I didn't blame her. She was just following orders. I nodded, walked past her, and opened the office door. My name was already being reprinted for the glass. I sat down in my old chair, leaned back slowly, and looked around. Nothing had changed, but everything had. The shop felt different, even though nothing looked out of place. The same cracked tile in the hallway. The same faint smell of motor oil and brake cleaner. But it felt like walking into something reclaimed. Something that had almost been stolen and now sat quietly in my hands again. Derek didn't show up that day. He didn't call, didn't text. He knew better. His lawyer reached out instead, asking if we could settle privately. My attorney advised me to consider it, but I wasn't ready to let it go. Not yet. This wasn't about money. It was about everything he tried to erase. I didn't want revenge. I wanted restoration. And I wanted the people who worked for us, the customers who trusted us, and the vendors we built relationships with to know exactly what happened. So I told the truth. I wrote a public letter. Short, honest, no smear campaign, just facts. I posted it on the business website, printed copies to hand out, and pinned it to the front counter. I let people make up their own minds. Some customers were shocked. A few left, but most stayed. They appreciated the honesty. One even walked in, shook my hand, and said, "Took guts to come back. Glad you did." I rehired 2 mechanics Derek let go. People I had trained. People who had families to support. They came back without hesitation. It started to feel like our shop again. Not his. Ours. But the truth is, things between me and Derek will probably never go back to how they were. That's the part no one talks about. The aftermath. You don't get that kind of betrayal from your own brother and walk away unchanged. We grew up side by side, shared a room, buried our father together, built something out of nothing. And in the span of a few months, he turned that into a power grab. I asked myself over and over why he did it. Was it greed? Insecurity? Resentment? Or did he just think I was down for the count and figured it was easier to cut me out than to share? I may never get that answer, and I've made peace with that. What I do know is that I walked into that shop with nothing but a doctor's note and trust. I walked out months later with a court order, my name back on the books, and my dignity intact. Some people think strength is about shouting louder or fighting dirtier. But real strength is staying silent until the moment matters, and then speaking with facts. With proof. With calm conviction that cuts deeper than any threat. I see Derek sometimes. At family events. He doesn't say much. We nod. That's all. We'll probably never work together again. And that's fine. I don't need an apology to move forward. I just needed the truth to be seen. And now it is. The business is steady. The garage is loud again. I've started mentoring a few local kids who want to learn the trade. When they ask how I built the shop, I tell them the truth. I built it twice. Once with my hands. And once with everything that was left when it was taken from me.